At the CERN nuclear lab, scientist Vittoria is working on creating stable antimatter. Its purpose will be to provide a clean energy source for cities, but in the wrong hands, it can be a devastating bomb ending millions of lives. She and her mentor accomplish this impossible task. Vittoria is on the way to celebrate with her mentor, but at the security check, she notices blood. She finds her mentor dead on the floor and realizes the antimatter is stolen. During this time, the current pope has mysteriously passed away. When the pope passes away, the Catholic Church holds a funeral and enters a conclave, an assembly of the Catholic Church's leaders who appoint the new pope. A member of the Vatican police pays a visit to Robert Langdon, a Harvard professor of symbology and religious icons. Robert believes the policeman is there to reject him access to the Vatican archives again, a place where the Catholic Church holds all their history and most important literature. Instead, he tells Robert a more dire situation. 4 of the senior cardinals have been kidnapped by a mysterious and forgotten group called the Illuminati, along with the threat that each of them will be publicly executed every hour, beginning at 8 p.m. that night. The Vatican hopes Robert's expertise in symbology can help them find the kidnappers before the public can catch wind of the situation. He is surprised the Vatican trusts him, especially since his work relies on debunking and criticizing the Church's ways. But because of these actions, the Church trusts him to prove that the Illuminati is fake. On the flight to the Vatican, Robert explains that the Illuminati were a group of scientists who were usually not violent. Due to the Church hunting down their followers, the members of the Illuminati went into hiding. Robert meets Commander Oletti of the Vatican Police, and he takes Robert to meet Richter, the commander of the Swiss Guards. He warns Robert that Richter doesn't appreciate his presence and that Ole called him in, hoping he could help. Richter meets Robert, sarcastically welcoming his expertise, and talks to Vittoria. She urgently tells him about the missing antimatter and that retrieving it should be the priority. Richter is very religious and criticizes her work. She ignores him when she sees the security camera showing the stolen antimatter. The camera is a live feed, but they can't pinpoint its location. She tells them that if the battery on the canister dies, then the whole city will be destroyed. They watch a new video from the kidnapper showing the missing cardinals and a riddle. Robert listens and tries his best to decipher the riddle. He finds out that the kidnapper intends to brand each of the cardinals with an element: fire, air, earth, and water, at 4 specific locations known as the Path of Illumination. Robert realizes that he needs to enter the Vatican archives so that he can find the beginning of the path, and goes to meet the Camerlengo Carlo for his approval. Carlo is informed of the situation. He suggests finding the antimatter is the top priority and speaks to Robert alone. He questions Robert about his faith. Robert tells him he is an academic and will never understand, but maybe one day he will. After hearing his honesty, Carlo allows him access to the Vatican archives. Vittoria decides to tag along with Robert, thinking the antimatter might be located at the end of the path he is looking for. If she finds the canister, she may be able to change the canister's battery long enough for them to take it back to the lab to stabilize it. As they make their way to the archives, Robert tells them that the Path of Illumination is a way to become a member of the Illuminati. One must find 4 statues in 4 different churches, and at the end they will find the Church of the Illuminati. Carlo makes his way to the conclave. He meets the most senior cardinal and begs him to delay the conclave and evacuate after informing him of the situation. The cardinal refuses because of the tradition and believes that God will protect them. Carlo has no choice and seals the doors to the conclave. Robert is amazed at the archives and tells the guard he needs to see Galileo's writings first. When they enter, he finds a specific book. Throughout his research, he stumbled upon the number 503 more than a handful of times and believes that this book is where the clue to the path is located. He carefully looks through the pages and sees a faint Illuminati symbol on the pages. He slowly reads the words surrounding the page. Worried about the antimatter battery, Vittoria gets impatient and rips out the page, stunning Robert. In the car, Robert finishes reading the text, while Ovalet yells at them for removing a page from the historic book. Robert tells them to head to the Pantheon, the oldest Catholic church of Rome, and search for the sculptor Raphael's tomb. The Swiss guards meet them there, and they send Robert and Vittoria inside as tourists to scope out the scene. They search the church, but realize they were mistaken and that Raphael's tomb was moved. They tell Richter about this, and he feels foolish to have believed Robert. He tells his men to go back to headquarters and leaves Robert and Vittoria. Robert, Vittoria, Ole, and his men arrive at the correct location just as their first hour is up. The chapel seems to be under construction and empty. They don't see anything until Robert finds a secret tunnel. Ole and Robert head down and find the first cardinal dead, filled with dirt and branded with the Earth sign. While the Swiss guards canvass the area, Robert looks at the statues and notices that they were all done by the same sculptor, Bernini. He finds a statue of an angel pointing southwest and discovers the start of the path. He asks for a map of all the churches and finds the next location, St. Peter's Square. He's positive that the next killing will happen there in front of a Bernini statue of an angel. They arrive at the crowded square and Richter warns them not to alarm the public. Robert looks around but doesn't see a statue of an angel. He looks down and realizes that carvings are also considered statues
statues, and there are many with an angel's face. They find a carving of an angel breathing air when the hour is up. Robert believes this is the place, but doesn't see the cardinal or kidnapper until a little ghost screams, and they see the cardinal dying on the steps of the fountain, branded and with his lungs punctured. Robert pulls a note from the body before they head back to see Carlo. In Carlo's office, they look over the note and realize that the Pope was murdered. Vittoria tells them they can easily find out by examining the body, but Richter rejects, saying it goes against the church's policy. Carlo tells Richter to prepare for an evacuation as a last resort. Robert has an idea where the next killing might be, but has to go back to the archives to pinpoint the location of the church. Vittoria stays behind to look through her mentor's notes, hoping he named the killer. Robert looks through the archives, and this time the guard goes in with him so that he can't steal anything. He finds a page and asks the guard to translate. He tells him about an angel sculpture that looks like it was on fire, and Robert finds the next location. Right then, the power goes out, leaving them trapped inside with no oxygen. They try whatever they can to break the glass, but they're unsuccessful. They both start to get dizzy from the lack of oxygen. Robert gets on top of a bookshelf and knocks it over, but the glass doesn't crack. He grabs the guard's gun and shoots a couple of shots into the glass before he gets back on the bookshelf and passes out. Thankfully, a couple of seconds later, the glass breaks and Robert regains consciousness. Carlo and Vittoria head to the Pope's resting place. He tells her that the Pope actually adopted him when he was 9 and raised him. After completing his military service, Carlo worked for the church. As his son, he wants to find out what killed his father and decides to break protocol and examine the body. Vittoria tells him that if they see a dark purple around his mouth, then the Pope was poisoned. After praying for forgiveness, they opened a casket and realized the Pope was poisoned. Carlo interrupts the conclave and informs the cardinals about the discovery. He tells them about the Illuminati's purpose and that the church must go to war with them. He tells them to start by evacuating the city and telling everyone the truth about the Illuminati. Robert arrives at the next location with Ali and the police. They hurry inside and find the cardinal tied up and burning alive. Everybody hurries to rescue him, but the police are assassinated one by one. Ali sees the kidnapper and tries to confront him, but gets his throat sliced. The cardinal burns, and Robert has to escape. He makes his way into the drainage system before the kidnapper catches him. The fire department comes soon after and pulls him out. Vittoria storms into Richter's office asking why he stole her mentor's notes. He tells her that he is making sure there is nothing incriminating on it, and now she is suspicious of him and believes that he's a traitor. Robert finds the Bernini statue and notices it pointing west. A policeman gives him a map and he finds the location of the final church. He circles the locations on the map and realizes it makes a cross, proving the final location is correct. The policemen notify him that Richter ordered them to bring him in, but Robert makes a deal with them to take him to the final location before meeting Richter. They give him a chance and they head to the final location. Robert and the police arrived in front of a fountain at the final location. Knowing the last element to be water, he knows he is at the right place. They see a van pull up and the policemen check it out. The kidnapper talks his way out and shoots both of the policemen while they search the van. Robert slowly approaches the van and sees the kidnapper throw the last cardinal into the fountain. The kidnapper escapes and Robert dives in after the cardinal. The cardinal is strapped to heavy weights and Robert screams for help. He tries to stall by yanking an air tube and putting it in the cardinal's mouth. Some bystanders come and help Robert pull the cardinal out. Robert asks him where the kidnapper was holding him, knowing that it was the Church of Illumination. He tells him that the Church of Illumination is the Castel Sant'Angelo. The Swiss guards and Vatican police rendezvous at the Church of Illumination. Vittoria meets Robert and tells him that Richter is the traitor. They make their way inside and Robert tells them to follow the statues. They reach a dead end with the kidnapper's van parked in the middle of the room. The police leave them alone in the room to scout out the other rooms in the church. When Robert checks the floor, he finds a pentagram and a draft coming behind a wall leading to a secret passageway. The kidnapper hears them approaching and hides. Robert finds a room with the cells the cardinals were kept in, along with the brands the kidnapper used. He realizes that there is a fifth brand and that the target is Carlo, who is the acting pope. Before they can warn Carlo, the kidnapper comes out of hiding and holds them at gunpoint. He tells them that he is just a regular gun for hire and that he was paid to make everything seem like a religious act. Even though he is a killer, he believes to be fair, and since Robert or Vittorio was not a target, he lets them live. But if they follow him, then he would end their lives. The kidnapper leaves and makes his way to another van parked outside. Robert and Vittoria decide to follow him to find the antimatter. The kidnapper starts the car and it blows up, killing him. They see the explosion and follow the passageways, hoping it leads the Pope's office where Carlo is. They reach a dead end and bang on the door. The guards hear this and open it, letting them into the office. They run into Carlo's room and see Richter about to shoot him. The guards react and shoot Richter down, and the senior cardinal's assistant curses Carlo. He picks up the fifth brand, but before he could attack Carlo, the guards shoot him down as well. Carlo is branded with 2 crossed keys upside down, and Robert and Carlo realize that the antimatter must be in the tomb of St. Peter. They enter the tomb and locate the antimatter. With 7 minutes left, Vittoria tries to change the battery. She tells them that they have less than 5 minutes because the cold temperature decreases battery life much faster, and 5 minutes is not enough time to change the battery. She suggests keeping the blast underground, but Carlo grabs the antimatter and heads outside. He takes control of a helicopter and flies into the air. The battery dies and a large explosion happens in the sky. The crowd recovers from the fallout and sees Carlo land with a parachute. The guards tell the cardinals in conclave the news about Carlo's heroism. All the cardinals are believed and begin to think that Carlo should be the next pope. Everyone is in agreement except the senior cardinal, who is strict with the traditions of the church. Vittoria and Robert look through Richter's office. She finds security footage of the events when Richter confronted Carlo. The footage shows that Richter confronted Carlo after reading Vittoria's mentor's notes. The Pope and encouraged the creation of antimatter and was in a position to combine the church and science for the good of all, but Carlo rejected this idea and believed the church should have all the power and brought back the Illuminati to scare the church into a holy war. Believing his way is right, he even murdered his own father. Carlo branded himself to make Richter look like the Illuminati. The footage is shown to the senior cardinal and they summon Carlo to the conclave. He expects to be met with praise, but the cardinals all stare at him with disgust. Realizing his secret has been found out, he makes a run for it, but instead of leaving the church, he runs to the tombs. Carlo pours oil on himself and lights himself on fire. The new pope is selected and it is the cardinal Robert saved. The senior cardinal becomes the new Camerlengo and thanks Robert for his hard work by gifting him a book from the Vatican archives that he needs to finish his research. The Camerlengo knows Robert will criticize the church and asks him to be gentle.